No volume. Now there's volume. Martin, I got to start earlier. Do I? I mean, I do start earlier. I just don't start streaming till later because I have kids to get ready for school and stuff. Morning, Trin. Um, but yeah, so basically when we have a spike, so here's the spike from yesterday, and then we have the spike base. So what I meant by that is that it can act as resistance until we get above it, and then that spike base is going to act as support for the upside, right? So once we get acceptance either below the spike or in the spike and below or above the spike, it'll turn from resistance to support. So yeah, it's still it is, you know, a resistance zone if price is below or inside of it, but once we get above, you've got to be careful for it to act as support and price to kind of rally up, which is pretty much what happened this morning. So starting off the morning, we opened up just barely below that spike base. We got above it. We got, you know, kind of flushed with volume really quick. And then the market just went on a rampage and started just running to the upside. B period opened up and tried to take the high again, quickly fizzled out, and then started just falling down. And right now we're still inside yesterday's range for the most part. You know, we've been below yesterday's range about 5 or 10 points here during that C period excess, and then D period opened up, stopped the one time framing, and then now you know, now we're getting back towards these lows of yesterday. It was an interesting open because pretty much overnight inventory was 100% net long. Hang on, I gotta sneeze. Oh, pretty much inventory was 100% net long, but the market didn't really care, just started heading up. And now basically what we're looking for is, and this is kind of why I put these, thank you, Jamie. This is kind of why I put these single prints in the trade view, is I kind of expect them to act as a resistance to us getting accepted back in this value, right? Because if the market does, and it very well could, and it's not really looking decisive either way to me, to be honest. It looks like it's going to be pretty range bound for the most part. But let's say we do get above these single prints and start to show acceptance up here. We did get a little bit of volume, but price keeps kind of flirting back and forth with these levels. But acceptance above it would bring us into this balance and probably start to develop a little 3-day balance, right? So even though we did have this kind of spike to the low side last night or yesterday at the end of the day, if the price starts to get above these single prints and keep trading up here, there's good odds that it just keeps going up here, right? And something that I was actually looking for today was acceptance above the 25. We didn't get it, but I was looking for that acceptance because I think if this level here is broken, this 29.75, there could be a lot of short covering that would probably take us, you know, back up to the 50 or back up to that 67.50. You know, there's a lot of space up there. That's what you deciphered? Yeah, sorry. You know how I like to leave things in code. Cash support 415. 415 on the, you're talking about on the SPY? I don't know if that's really cash support. That was yesterday. I think big pop right there. So we're seeing volume start to come up here. The market, I mean, the market is pretty crazy today, and really there's nothing wrong with just, you know, staying patient and watching and letting a trade come to you, right? And so when we talk about letting a trade come to us, what we can be waiting for is right here above these single prints or inside yesterday's value. we can be looking for acceptance, right? Let me just jam these down a little bit so we can see them a little bit easier. So we can be looking for acceptance up here, up in the higher portion of D period. Acceptance up here would probably make us more rotational, and we could try to trade to the other side of value. Wanting to take profit up here just because we know that there's probably a responsive seller still lurking up here. As we saw yesterday, we had kind of, this very weird shut off of buying and selling coming in. You're seeing it again around the same spot. So we're assuming there's a responsive seller here. We had these single prints, which shows that capitulation. So this is kind of where buyers are probably lurking, or sellers are probably lurking, responsive sellers. So, and then at the lows, we've seen we didn't break the Globex low, even though the last trade is still way down here at 41.40. I think, what's it at? 41.40.75, right? So we haven't got down there yet, and this is just kind of showing us that the market's pretty rotational. So the market explored down here based off of the earnings yesterday that it went through. Microsoft had some pretty bad earnings. Well, not really bad, but just they were taken bad at first, and then they sold off pretty hard, and then same thing with Google. But pretty much everything has rebounded since then. And if we take a look at the flex, you can see the tick has been all over the place, right? Didn't register any negative thousands or anything. The market itself, besides healthcare and consumer discretionary, or consumer staples, seems pretty, or communication services, my bad. Yeah, that's communications. Communication services is red, right? Real estate's red, but not really a big portion of it, so it doesn't really matter. The breadth is actually green for the first time in 3 days. So, and then we've got, Apple's up. Look at Microsoft up 6% today. Google's still getting smacked a little bit. Tesla's up 3%, but they were down 11% yesterday. Visa's getting a big pump today, 7% after earnings. MasterCard's the same way. It's just so you could see, even though we are, kind of dancing, we're green on the market since the open, we've got to understand that the market's not really too green, but it's also not too red either. So we've got a big name that's red. We've also got a big name that's green. Visa and MasterCard really green today. Tesla's green. So, these are going to be names that we need to watch for continuation today, to see, to give us a little bit of insight on what we think is going to go. What software is that quad on? Oh, that's on Thinkorswim. Yeah, 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 bang on about it. Yeah, yeah. Peter does talk about it a lot. That's who I got it from. I got it from Shadow Trader. Those those indicators are Shadow Trader indicators. Hey, Double R, how's it going? Responsive sellers. So when you think about responsive sellers, Martin, you want to think about where would be a good spot to sell from. So the market's been going down, right? We know that, but we don't want to just get short wherever. We want to be getting short where other big money sellers are getting short, and we use volume and the profile to identify these things. And so we can see here real big lack of volume, and this was that capitulation yesterday, early on liquidation, really capitulation from the buyers liquidating their positions and then bringing the value down until the late break, late in the day. And so we can expect that this is where some responsive sellers stepped in and buyers decided to give up. And so we look over to the right as the chart forms, and what happens when price gets close to that same space again? We get sold off, right? So we can expect that there's some responsive selling up in this area. Whereas the opposite of that, right, would be looking for initiated selling. So in order to get continuation to the downside, we would want to see price get below yesterday's low, more volume start to pour in, and price start to spend time below yesterday's low in order to start trading to the low side. And then, inverse that for buying. It's a the exact inverse. A little bit of buying coming in the market here. Is there no Thinkorswim? Thinkorswim is free, as long as you open an account. Thinkorswim's actually free without opening an account, but you won't get live data. But the live data is free as long as you open an account, and then you just have to register for the data, sign the contracts and things like that. The same thing that you always have to do when you open any kind of brokerage account. State that you're not professional, all of these things. Market looks pretty weak here to me, guys, still. I know we're trying to spend some time up here, but it's still just not looking. Notice the tempo on the way down. It just seems a little bit stronger, and it seems like we're spending a little bit more time lower. The only thing that's really, got me nervous is how whipsawy it is. And so today is going to be one of those days that you're just going to have to, there's not, today's not going to be a day where you're going to want to be like, I'll just move my stop up and give myself a little bit more space, right? That's what can get you punished pretty hard on a day like today. And a lot of times, on days like today, I'm a little bit quicker to cover my position as well. I'm not really looking to, wait in pullbacks, as the market pulls back, because there's not really a strong trend. So, when we think about this in our profile, we have excess on the bottom, we have excess on the top, right? So here's our excess on the bottom, here's our excess on the top, and fairly balanced for the most part. If, let's say, these are responsive sellers, and like we talked about yesterday, eventually they get closer and closer until one makes a decision to change it out. So if we had responsive sellers up here, let's say these responsive sellers are here, and I'm long from these single prints, well, I'm not really trying to wait in a pullback, because they could easily just liquidate. The buyers that are buying down here could liquidate and wait for it to come back down to them and decide where they want to buy it again, right? So it's a little bit, today's a day where you want to be a little bit tighter, in my opinion, or you could give yourself some space but just trade a lot lighter than normal today. Today's just one of those days where risk management is going to be very important. So whatever your strategy is for managing risk, like today's one of those days where maybe you need to write it on your screen or do whatever you need to do to make yourself use it, but that's what you need to do. Oh, you have your Series 7 and 3? Oh shit. Well, welcome, man. Glad to have you. How you been, Jake? I haven't seen your name in the chat for a long time. I feel like I just recognize the name Jake Patton, like the general. See how fast this thing is just popping up and down here? Bitcoin really didn't get as dramatic as I assumed it was gonna. The percentage really wasn't, very very crazy compared to some of the other days. Which could be showing strength, right? Could be showing that it's getting some buying in it. Oh, DJ, we can hear you. Your cat, I think. Oh dang. My buddy that was from England, his family always has Great Danes. They've had like a bunch of them. They're pretty funny dogs. Yeah, that's how his were. They'd like try to lay next to you on the couch and stuff, and you're like, Jesus, I don't have any space. And they're heavy. A little bit of buying coming in here right at the top. Let's see if they can get some continuation. And then they start to fade. Flying pop. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Yeah, it looks, I mean, these buyers are trying it here. They're trying to get this market to head back up. So we'll watch and see if they can take it back up to this 14 level here. Seems like that's where the target would be, right? Where the volume's at. And then that 29 level, above that, we could see, a fair amount of short covering from up there. So having such a struggle fest up here. It just falls right back down. This is just one of those days where I think later on in the day, there's going to be opportunity. It's just a matter of if you can stay patient and wait for it to come. And some days when you're trading, it's going to be like this, right? There's going to be days where you're like, I just, like you just know that it's going to go a certain direction. And what happens is you just got to stay patient and wait for it to get there and then take the trade. I don't, when the trade comes to you, if you're having difficulty just staying patient or just sitting there waiting, like I always say, buy a fidget spinner and spin that thing, or buy a Rubik's Cube, or something that can at least distract your hands, right? I don't want you to be doing something that's really distracting your eyes. So maybe a Rubik's Cube isn't really like, well, the Rubik's Cube doesn't really distract your eyes. You can just, you do it by recognition. But so something like that that's going to distract your hands from wanting to be on the mouse and start, firing these orders in. Just remember, there's always opportunity. There was a ton of opportunity yesterday. There's going to be a ton of opportunity today, I'm sure. There's going to be a ton of opportunity tomorrow. My mentor Jim Dalton always says pretty much every day there's at least 3 good trades. It's just a matter of, are you willing to wait for them to show themselves? That's it. And I strongly believe that. I really do. I really think if you're, able to stay patient and just wait for that good trade, it's nice. For some reason it seems like, as a trader sometimes it seems like if you don't trade it a lot on a day that has big range, then you probably weren't doing a great job. Um, but if you guys saw the Instagram post that I posted yesterday, um, that that short was from uh oh, and here, I think this overnight. Um, that short was from like 32 or 36 or something. The best way to communicate with me privately, just Discord. Discord's pretty easy. And it was only 2 lots, right? And we just hung out and let the market just die all day, you know. Never took any heat on that trade. I mean, added to it, of course, throughout the day and stuff, but you know, never really took any heat on that trade. Nothing. Um, and that just is kind of going to my point of, you know, being patient, waiting for that, and then how compounding things like that can be, right? You take 10 trades and they're all 2 points each, because you're not being patient and letting your trade work out. And then, you know, you take one trade that's 10 points and it feels so much easier, so much better almost, that when something like that happens. You know what I mean? And so it's important to be patient and not exercise or explain that enough, how important patience is. Let's watch that 4205 here. Big big offers got lifted right there. 5. If they hold it up when it comes back down. Europe is closing, 52 seconds ago. Decent volume coming in on that 8 here. Offers are still getting lifted here. Ooh, big offer just got lifted on the 10. Look for them to keep buying it above the 10. Look at all that volume coming in right there on the 10. 1700 volume. We're going to try to fill in this little gap right here, little weak volume right here. So notice how we're coming up into this weak volume and we're staying right here, right? We come retreat a little bit and then pop right back in. So right here, there's just good odds that, I mean, that it keeps going up to that 14 just because of, it looks like initiated buying. This is not a spot to be getting long from, but what it's showing is at least there's some competition up here from buyers that are willing to move up here to compete and not wait until down lower to get in the market. So now let's watch to see if this is going to act as resistance. The E high seems pretty mechanical to me. You know, watch for that half back as well as another place for sellers to try to pop back in. Buying still looks pretty decent though. There's the 14. Okay, so now watch this retest of this weak volume. So we came up here, found some sellers, we come back. Now let's see if these buyers are still willing to initiate. If they are willing to initiate, we shouldn't really get below this 8 here. Actually, if they are willing to, we still have actually until the 5, honestly, on this buy trade, but we would like to see them support that 8 here. That's what I'd like to see at least. And if not, then volume's just super thin, kind of back and forth. See how it just kind of rips up and then comes right back? It's a tough day today to be patient. Buyers are still buying up here. Just looks thin, starting to look thin, really thin, to be honest. There they go. They hold the 8. Retest, or the 10, I mean. And 8 and 5. Write those down. So we're a little bit of responsive selling still up there. But buyers went back down, found their pals, and they're still pushing it up. That was early identification of those initiated buyers. Good job. Mechanical sellers are going to be sellers selling off of static reference points. So like something like the B half back or the half back from yesterday, you could get selling off of that. And since this E high is only one tick, that's something that I consider a mechanical high. So somebody is selling off the half back of the B bar, and that's why, you know, the market pushed back down to find more buyers, and then buyers started lifting the offer to come back up, and we're kind of stuck in between these two little spots right here until, you know, somebody just gives up. The buying looks strong down at 8, 10, 5 area, but not really so much up here, whereas selling starts to come in and be a little bit more responsive up here when we have a couple of these reference points near each other. But I appreciate the questions and keep them coming. You know, that's one thing like that I encourage everyone to do that gets into the chat is like, if you don't understand what we're looking at, I'm not going to shame you for not knowing what we're talking about. I'm going to shame you for not trying to know, to learn something new. That's what I'll shame you for. I'm just kidding. I won't shame you. It's not my style. So still holding up there. Now let's watch this, you know, rebid. Let's see if, or yeah, rebid it. See if they can support. We're watching like 10 to 5 basically. There was a decent response off the 8 last time, and still seems like there's some buyers here. And remember, we're right off of yesterday's point of control, or right, you know, near yesterday's point of control. So, you know, we can expect that as everyone yesterday we assumed was pretty much selling, the day went on, right? It was pretty much selling all day, as we saw. And, you know, we're back to that spot. So we could expect some selling from here. And right, that L period, that's where the break was from this area. So you would assume that if they were short here, they'll probably short that spot again. Get rid of low back set. Turn to angry. You're not gonna like me. We'll just leave it like that actually, so we can see how yesterday turned out. So you guys remember yesterday our little half pipe that we had, right? We had kind of this little half pipe. Well, now we've got, you know, kind of a bigger one with a little lip on it, and it's you know, starting to try to fill in some of this weak volume, and every time it comes down to around that 8-ish, 8 to 5 to 10 really, finds some buyers and rides back towards the other side of this ramp, and eventually it's going to get over. and you know you're going to be searching for liquidity, and liquidity is going to be up here, up at that 20. And you know, probably if I had to place a bet, I would say that this seller is still up here short. The buying is still trending up for the most part. The tick is still trending up. The market looks, you know, pretty good. Apple's up 1%, Microsoft's up 6.5%, Google's down 3%, Tesla's up 3%, Visa's up 8%. So the market, you know, the market's giving like good signs, but it's not really doing much. And this was kind of my point in the trade view on Monday. Um, if you look at the daily bars, we're one time framing lower, but you can see like, so we had down day, then we had an up day that was still down, right? And that was kind of my argument about this day. That's kind of why I was so, you know, bearish, because I feel like it was deceiving to the market, right? Um, and if you look at Apple, it was the same way. You can see Apple, we had those 2 down days, and then you had an up day, but it was still down. And I mean, everything was like that. You can see Microsoft gapping up today off of the earnings and hasn't looked back. Maybe something we need to watch. And then Microsoft or Google gapping down off the earnings. And Tesla, you know, still, I mean, it's a green day and it's up 3%, but you know, it's not doing anything, you know, extraordinary. It's still down a lot from, you know, year to date. I have to go back and update these Bitcoin levels at the end of the day today. There's a lot going on this chart. Tesla's price could fall to jeopardize Elon's Twitter bid. Yeah, it definitely could. Um, he lost, I mean, like a significant amount of money yesterday, like billions of dollars, with Tesla going down. And basically, Tesla shareholders are kind of afraid, you know, that the Twitter buying of Twitter might affect the company or whatever. And yeah, he took out a loan against his stake in Twitter, against his shares, and that could, you know, that could definitely cause some issues for sure. Because he could get, you know, a margin call. I mean, there could be, yeah, there could just be a lot of issues that could arise from what he's doing with that. So there's there's a $1 billion called a $1 billion, like if he doesn't buy it, he has to pay $1 billion, like a fee for not closing on the deal or something like that. So a clause in the agreement that he has to pay $1 billion if he doesn't, um if something happens that's his fault, I guess. Oil's down back close to $100, about 188 cents right now. Gold's down about 1% today, back down below 1900. Shout out to all the people that thought gold was going to go on a rampage. Netflix is 190 or $89. Let's go. Talk about a discount. When just a week ago, about a week ago, it was $360. So like half price. Like that's a lot of rice. Oh, I see what you did there, Jamie. That was good. I like that. It is. That's a lot of rice. For real. Like goddamn. Think about just the think what I think about the rice is I think about, you know, um the amount of food. I think like there's people starving all over the world, kids starving, right? If sometimes like, and excuse me for being blunt, but like sometimes when homeless people are adults and I just have, so much less sympathy um for them. But when it's a kid and a kid is starving, like the kid didn't choose that. Kids only know what we teach them. They only do what they know. And so they're starving. It's not their fault. They're not to that stage yet where they can be a hunter or a gatherer. And so like you have all this money and like, yeah, donate to this and donate to that and shit, but like I feel like solving that problem could really, solve a lot of issues. I think a lot of people are just hungry, maybe. It's like Big Daddy. He's like, you're not mad at me, it's your dad. You know? Like everyone just has a bunch of displaced anger, and it's like if they could just, you know, have a little bit, then they'd probably be good to go. Yeah, yeah. And there's not yeah, instead of being like helped. Yeah. And that's a tough thing is too, is like you some of the people that are homeless, they have like mental issues and they're kind of abandoned by their family, which is kind of shitty. But a lot of the homeless people where I live are there from that good old the dragon game, the chasing the dragon game. Anyone get that joke? Wang Fang, what do I think about GMT? Take a peek. Talking about what are we talking about? GMT. Here we go. Look. Oh, did I? So GMT is building a lot of value here up higher and looking at a pullback. So what I would be looking for here, if we draw a balance, this is going to be our balance area, right? And so if we were to try to imagine for a second that these profiles here are combined, we would probably draw our point of control here around this 320. So if we come down here and get a strong reaction and don't come back down here, I'm a buyer looking to break out over these highs here. And that would be a breakout of balance, knowing that when we get above this balance here, that we need to pay close attention for a responsive seller that's um, you know, obviously willing to move down to compete, gave some exhaustion, came back down, competed again. So they're selling right here. So paying attention, looking for initiated buying coming in to get continuation. But if we get a strong reaction off that point of control and hold, that could be a good spot to get in, low risk to reward, and then put your stop here, because if we trade back through it, there's good odds that we do trade back down to this level here. So we don't want to just sit in this trade praying and hoping. We want to cut it early and look for a better position to get in there. I don't know much about it though, like, so I don't know like what the story is on it, or you know what the coin does, nothing like that. You just bought 15K, want to sell at 3.9? Well, let's go back real quick. That's ambitious. 332. You just opened it. I mean, you're probably still good. It's just you don't want to see price get much lower than this 316 level, because you know below that level, if we don't get a strong reaction, there's good odds that it trades back down to like the 296. I mean, it's pretty. Uh, yeah, it's one time framing up on the daily, but you know today's day is an inside bar, so you'd really want to see that high get taken. Good support down here though. If it does break, it doesn't look like it's gonna, but if it did break, there'd probably be buying opportunity down here. The only thing I hate about stuff like this is when you don't, when we're almost like in a balance, but it's like a one time framing up balance. A lot of times you'll get a day that will just take this whole thing, barely extend the balance to the lower, trap sellers, and then come right back into balance. And it's just because all of these daily stops are going to be lined up. People are going to, you know, people hide behind daily bars all the time. Watch this 5 level on this rebid down here, where we were talking about that 10 to 5 level. Weren't able to get much past that half back. Still seems mechanical, that E high though. Yeah, Wing, like that's just what I would be. I'd just be careful of that, because I don't know, it's just not really something that I like to mess with. See, like what you're looking for is something like this response here. Oops. Um, you know, we see kind of like, this is a 30-minute, but you see all these stops just kind of lined up. And so without this strong reaction like it had here, that's the kind of strong reaction that you want to see. Without that strong reaction, this thing probably would have liquidated down back to these lows. But buyers stepped up, or buyers responded, not really stepped up, responded on the retest of lower value. Oh, I got a lot of bubbles today. What's going on here? So we're back below that 5, doesn't really hold much. So the market's just not showing a lot of conviction, really. Not yet, at least. We traded up to high volume, responsive sellers show up, and now we're starting to, you know, bid back down and try to find buyers again. Now the 5's starting to act as a bit of resistance here. So you got shorter term time frame traders trading the 5, right? So that's probably a number that I'm writing down here, on my chart. We saw them buy it initially, and now we're seeing them sell it. And a lot of times, remember what we talk about, shorter term time frame traders, they are, you know, they have no conviction, right? They're just willing to ride the market whichever way it's going. So easily they could defend a level and just start turning right around and then selling it, right? And let's say we pop above it, they could do the same thing. They could reverse and then start buying it again. You don't you know, there's no way to know for sure, but you know, this is pretty normal for a, you know, initiating seller, a shorter time frame seller. They do things like that. A lot of red hitting the market here, all over it looks like. So back down to these single prints. Let's see what they've got here. Um, they're gonna support us above the single prints again. This was kind of like where the initial impulse was from. It looked like, you know, 97.50-ish area, maybe 95. What do we got? 3 minutes until the next period opens up. So if you were tuning in for the first time, whether you're on Twitch, Facebook, or YouTube, you know, ask a question if you're not sure what you're looking at, or if you have any questions, you know, definitely give a question. I promise I'm not you know, mean. And I love to teach, so at E low is mechanical, and the E high is mechanical now too. So the E low is bought right off that D half back and pretty much right above the prior day or T2 high or T2 low, I mean, excuse me. And then the E high is right off of the half back of yesterday's cash session, which is a pretty common place for mechanical sellers to be active. And you could be getting, remember, just because we get a level like this, right? So this E high, and it was the same way here. You know, these were mechanical highs, but they were right off the point of control. So, and then the same thing, this E high is right off the half back. So it could be mechanical sellers, but there also could be a combination of responsive big money selling at that level as well. Nice, Wing. Good shit. You longed at 37.9. Nice. I'm waiting for us to get back above that 39,136 and hold. That's kind of like my level I like to buy off of. I've been buying off of it for a couple months now. Like a month, 2 months. Time my time is just like off because I'm just so ready to move that, you know, it's just like I almost thought that next week was June. I was ready. Only fucking May, so oil's getting clapped here, bonds are getting clapped a little bit too. Oil's almost back, oil's red, but still up above 100. The Russell is barely green. The Dow is up 0.8. Nasdaq's up 0.5. The ES is up 0.7. You know, so a little bit of divergence there. $36.6. Yeah, I think that's a good spot, that 36.6 right here. There's, I mean, this is kind of like the last support here. If we jump over to this chart, just because it's easier to switch with the indicator on. Go past this one. Yeah, so if we get too much below that 36 level, that's kind of these lows here. If we get too much below that, that starts putting our excess on the daily in striking range. And then if you know, if those lows get taken, these lows will become the target, and this starts putting Bitcoin in I mean, this starts putting Bitcoin in a scary range, because there could be a fast decline below those lows from, you know, from May and last summer basically. Mr. Red, what's up? What's up? Your exit point on GMT? Like I mean, just it really just depends on how you're trying to trade it, to be honest with you. I just think like right here, see, that's a nice reaction right there. I think right here, up above this 3.4, just be careful and pay attention to get continuation, because um that's where I expect that responsive seller to be at. That's where I would expect him to be lurking at. Bro, lots of selling in the market here too. Let's see, they break that E low right down to those single prints. Getting a little bit of volume here, GMT is. Here. You can see, I mean, this is the thing you've gotta be worried about here, right? Look for that continuation. See, we're getting that volume. That's key. We want to see price stay here. And then the next spot we'll look is here. 34. Watch the volume. Gold half. Nice. Good stuff. And then I just erase my line, and then price goes up. It's almost like my lines control the market. My God. Wow. That's pretty cool to watch. Yeah, so just be careful up right above here. You know, this is where I expect us to see some responsive selling up near the top of balance. Would you say I have yesterday's half back at 4206.50 and Globex high? Where am I off? Let me see. Was that pretty cool or what? Someone record that. Or someone clip that. That was kind of cool. You have yesterday's half back at 17. Let's see. Globex high. Globex high was 17 quarter. Yeah, that's right. And yesterday's halfback was 4206.50. That's very raw. 4206.50. Nah, I'll be way down here. Profile goes all the way up there. Yeah, this is halfback right here, 1750. Maybe, oh no, not that day either. And today's halfback is down here right now, so. Yeah, your Globex high is good. I just think maybe incorrectly marked the yesterday's halfback. Unless my, I mean, I didn't do any math on it. I just marked it because this, normally my pink marker marks my halfback. Let me do the math real quick. Oh, you know what, Pop? I know what it is. It's that. It's because my session ends at 1600. That's why. That's why. Yeah. So yeah, let's look for these responsive sellers on GMT up here. If they don't show up, I mean, I think that you've got space. I mean, there is volume up here. There's a lot of competition up here right above this, which is why I think maybe responsive selling. But the next level up, I would say, is probably that 172.62 level. You can see we're getting a little bit of, a little bit of resistance up here at the top. Ooh. Sorry about that, Mr. Red. You got liquidated. And there's nothing I mean, it just depends on what you do. Peter Resnicek goes till 1615 on his profiles. Um, I go to 1600. I don't know if there is the best way or whatever it is. Last night just got liquidated, clicked on 100x accidentally. My bad luck. When am I going to leave you? What do you mean? Oh man, you know what? I need to get with you later, TJ, and figure out how to make a reel or whatever that is. What did you make? What was your video yesterday? I saw you posted. Is that called a reel? I don't know if he's still here. Yeah. Didn't you post like a short clip yesterday or something on YouTube? Maybe it's old. Oh, maybe it was old. Yeah. I need to figure out how to do those shorts. Appreciate it. Nice. Oh shit. Dang. Yeah, that was good. Definitely. I played a little basketball last night with the neighbor kids and my kids. Me and my son just fucking them up. We were up 10 and 8. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean they don't get to score a lot of points on me. Um I mean against my daughter I play hard cuz my daughter's good at basketball. She can dribble really well. We practice a lot and I play hard on her. But my son, he's only 8, so you got to give him a little bit of room. But we were just playing last night against my daughter and the neighbor kid, and then me and my son. And my son was scoring most of the points just on layups. I would just give him some nice dishes on cuts because he's got just the energy of all energies, the energy everybody wished they had. You made about 300. Let's go, bro. Let's go. Good stuff. I want to make sure that the references successful traders use. Peter's a successful trader. Um, I 100% think that he is. I know he is because I get to see his trades every day. So, um, what's up, Kevin? Nothing yet. I mean, we got a lot of crazy news last night that kind of whipped the market around this morning, and a lot of rebalancing from all the panic yesterday. But nothing, nothing too crazy. Not too much, just a bit. Yeah, I mean, 300 bucks a day can add up. What is that? 300 bucks a day would be like 75 grand a year or something like that. It's pretty good, I feel like. Trying to see a little bit of red come into the market here. Let's watch this 5 level again. We're back near it. Healthcare looks like it's getting a little selling in there. Look on that E high. Only 7 contracts traded on that top tick. I know it's kind of hard to see. Well, it says 66 here, but it's actually 7 and 59 on the top 2 ticks of there. I mean, even here you got single digits and single digits, which kind of tells you that it traded back through that area pretty fast. That's not ideal for initiated buying to get continuation to the upside. And remember what we talked about is a strong reaction off the point of control could take you back outside of the balance, and that could be something to think about. The good thing is that we have kind of our flip point right here for me, which is this 93. I don't really want to be long below this, and I don't really want to be short above it, unless I'm trying just a nice little fade on either side today. But every time the market has a little pullback, it does seem to find some buyers down here in this area. So we're seeing at the lows of yesterday, or at the lows of 2 days ago, and at the low of value yesterday, we're seeing responsive buying, right? And I would say it's probably pretty 50-50 as far as, if we take our point of control, our VPOC is actually way up here. So we would take the TPOC here. TPOC would be here, and so you could see responsive buying. If you imagine down to these two, these are responsive buyers, and these here are sellers. You can see it looks like responsive buyers are being a little bit more active today than sellers, right? You leaving? Oh, yeah. My financials are getting a little red here, but green tech. If you guys are watching on YouTube, you guys could do me a huge favor and go ahead and smash that like button. And then, you know, if you guys have questions, don't be a stranger. I promise, you know, we don't bite in here. Ask a question if you're unsure of what you're looking at, or even if you just have a question about, you know, something that you're trading or something that you're looking to trade, you know, we can definitely go over it. The market is kind of just in a little chill spot right here, so now's kind of the perfect time. Oh, do you mind? Can you just grab that, take that whole bag? Because it will just unroll and not just drop that stuff on me. I could dry clean all that shit. Except my shoes. I'll be back. Bye. Bye. Buying Twitter? I don't know. You know, to be honest, like I don't really have an opinion about it either way. I don't really think I- yeah. It's just interesting that yeah, I mean, I like what he plans to do with it and kind of, you know, he's gonna let free speech back. What I'm not liking is really the reaction that's happening, like where everybody seems to be worried that Trump's gonna come back. Like, I mean, Trump started his own platform. You know, I doubt that he would start coming back to Twitter, but you never know. He is kind of he does like the spotlight. I feel like so he might. But this doesn't really seem like a really big concern with you know all of Europe not having fucking gas. And you know, I mean, I know it's summertime, but winter is coming, right? I feel like we're in the fucking Game of Thrones here, and Daenerys is just gonna come and just yeah. Right.
I don't know. I don't know. It just I actually didn't think that the government was going to let him do it, and that was going to prove that he's not. You know, because I don't know. I just you know when he wasn't selling a car for 10 years, but yet his stock price is going up and up and up and up, and it's like you know something's going on here. You know, and he still doesn't even have a dealership. You know, truck. I mean, if any other car company, you know, didn't put out a truck for 3 years in a row, or whatever, they, you know, their shit would plummet. You know, but somehow it just I don't know.
Well, that's kind of my thing is like, you know, people need to be paying attention to what's possibly going on and, you know, what's going to be the next industrial revolution for the United States. And I think honestly, it's going to be a look back into manufacturing and manufacturing things here in the US. And so, you know, there's going to be uh a lot of fight with that to say we want lower prices, so we want to ship manufacturing other places, but we also um, you know, want to have things local to have prices cheap or have prices or have better quality things because you know for some reason Americans assume things made in America is just better, right? Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Sometimes people are really good at making shit and they're not from America. That's, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. But, you know, just buying something just because it's American would be supportive of the country, right? And so that could bring more money into the country and could ease prices as well. But also, if we start manufacturing a lot of our stuff, that's going to bring a lot more, you know, manufacturing plants in back into production, and then we start talking about the global warming. And you know, there's just, it's just a double-edged sword every way you skin it, you know. And it's just, I mean, it's just kind of crazy. And then, you know, to your point about, you know, him buying it and it being a big deal, I completely agree, because if you were to Google, you know, who owns um all these platforms, you know, you can just assume that they're doing what they want to do. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like,
Guys,
like,
Murdoch.
I mean,
yeah,
it's gotta be more kind of insider trading. I mean, it's gotta just be just like Boiler Room. Like there's, remember that movie Boiler Room, where there's like
yeah,
firing each other and, you know, just just fucking selling, ripping people off left and right. Just, I mean, well, just like what happened with what was that, Robin Hood. I mean, you know, and what kills me is that 2 months later they've got 7 times the number of customers than they did when they just ripped everybody off. You know, it's like,
right. Market's starting to bounce a little bit here, guys.
oh yeah, which ones?
But yes, I mean, Bitcoin's going up a little bit as well. Pretty green all over the board here.
I got chopped up and down on Luna yesterday. I'm upset.
Yeah, let's take, let me oops, fuck. I closed my internet page. Let's see. Um Yeah, Rupert Murdoch, Fox. Yeah, that's what my uncle was talking about. CNN. Who's the biggest shareholder in CNN? AT&T. I mean, and then you got
Talk
your
about,
Randall
talk about
Stevenson, John Stevens, the Vanguard, BlackRock, right? They're controlling CNN. Warren Buffett, EW Scripps. That's kind of a local channel.
that's what
ABC.
you called controlling the narrative.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. And so basically, what Elon's trying to do is just kind of control the narrative from a different angle, probably. You know, because he has an objective, and his objective is to basically become, um, uh, you know, to live forever, right? That's what he talks about all the time. Kind of like the movie Transcendence. Have you ever seen that movie Transcendence? Getting a little pop here, guys. Let's see if we can get these buyers up here to keep pushing this thing up. But that movie Transcendence, you know, a lot of time it's like you want to inject yourself into the computer so you can, your brain or your mind can live forever. But I mean, like, and look at, like, BlackRock's involved in, you know, all these companies. ABC News, the biggest shareholder of ABC News is Disney. Mm. You know?
Well, what did I say? 6 companies own everything now. I mean, you know, it's, but I wonder what kind of implication he's going to have with the SEC, because he pumps up his company big time on Twitter. That's his whole, you know. And are you still able to do that? I mean,
Yeah, I wonder. I wonder the same thing. I mean, it's kind of the same idea, kind of like you're talking about, like the boiler room situation. It's the same thing people are doing online. Um, you know, selling all kinds of shit. I mean, people sell stuff online that's just garbage,
well,
and people buy it all the time.
well, there used to be. I mean, there used to be a thing called the fairness doctrine. And I can't remember which president got rid of it, but it used to be that you couldn't
One
own.
second, one second. Careful, we get above this 29, guys. This is the level I've been waiting for to see if we can get this massive short covering. We still have single print, so we can still expect a little bit of responsive sellers, but if we get capitulation above here, this thing could run fast. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to. It's a tough short above these single prints, to be honest with you. Above the lower single prints. Oh.
Okay.
Let's watch the 20 here. This is going to be the level I want to stay above here is 20. 20 looks like a good spot for buyers to hold, and then the continuation to the upside. We can see some selling starting to come in on this 24, but ooh. Iran and China agreed to develop military cooperation plans. Just came through on Twitter. You know what's funny is the book I'm reading right now is called The Black Swan, and it's a very um interesting look at outlook, right? It's very objective. It doesn't cast any stones at all, right? It doesn't seem to be written from a perspective, right? Um and so when I think about stuff like that, like we hear something as an American, you hear, oh, Iran and China are partnering up. Immediately, you're like, ooh, that's bad, right? But then you've got to. Oh, there we go. There's the high. Careful for this capitulation here, and also be careful for just profit takers too. That's what I'm saying. There still could be responsive sellers up here. We have single prints here still, so there still could be responsive selling up here. So what we've got to be careful of is this is the spot. I mean, believe me, I already took profit right here, but I'm looking to take profit. If we show any weakness in this area, I'm going to be out. I'd like to fix this mechanical level, but it could easily fix that mechanical level and then reverse right away, right? Because there could just be responsive sellers waiting for that, right? And if you have a lot of other people taking profit here that are long, what do they become up here? Sellers. So even if there is a lot of times initiated buying coming in, they're buying people's take profits that they're selling, and unless there is more of them to keep coming price or keep bringing price up or holding price up, it's tough to get continuation. It's a very tough spot. It's not a spot that I would be wanting to get long in. It's a spot that I'm looking to try to see if we can catch this runner, but definitely looking for some pushback here as well. And remember, that's just a couple ticks of excess above the A high. That's it. So
Well, grabbing the pullback is a better, more guaranteed trade, right? I mean,
It's a safer trade for sure. Yeah, easier to manage risk on. It just has a lot of. It's definitely a trade to practice before breakouts. I know breakout trades are easier, but they're typically a bit more expensive to learn with than with a pullback where it's a little bit easier to manage risk.
But what you were saying earlier, they use the word they have ties with. You know, so somebody has ties with the
Right.
whatever government. That's, you know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and that's the thing is just as an American, you just kind of assume that that's bad because those countries are kind of told to us that they're not like America, so they're bad. And it's like when you think about it from a like a very basic, right, a very basic level, you know, disliking something that someone told you to dislike, but you've never had the opportunity to understand it is an ignorant thing to do, right? Like just because somebody like if it's especially if it's something that you actually care about understanding, if you care about understanding the relationship between the United States and China and you just listen to Fox, well, you're going to learn one thing about the relationship between the United States and China. And if you listen to CNN, you're going to learn a different relationship, the United States and China. But if you do your own research, you can read both and develop your own opinion. And I think, that's what's been going out the window is people just, they don't even want to think anymore. They just want to know. And so as soon as they hear somebody else say something, they're like, I know that. And then they tell it to somebody else. And then, it's like fucking, just, it's like being a little kid again.
That's the equivalent of watching Facebook for your news source.
Yeah.
Well, dude, the thing that pissed me off the worst was the fucking mask thing, dude. And it's still pissing me off. Dude. that Burks is all over everything because she's got a book out. Deborah, remember that Deborah Burks? She was like Trump's head doctor for like an hour. Um, but I totally forgot she was in charge when Trump suggested that we all take disinfectant to get rid of COVID, and he was totally serious. But the next day he tried to act like he was joking or whatever. She was like the head fucking doctor, but she didn't get up and say, "Oh no, you don't drink fucking."
He seemed like he was kidding. I watched that. He seemed like he was making a joke. It's just not a joke that a president should make. But he did seem like, I mean, to me it seemed like he was joking. But it's just not a joke a president should make because he basically was like, yeah, drink some fucking bleach.
But
And
the
it's
blew up. But the girlfriend blew up that day. People calling her, should I drink this bleach or what should I do? It's like,
exactly.
Okay, we can deal without the people that would drink the bleach.
Yeah, and that's it. And that goes back to the thing is like the kid. There was a big craze of the kids eating Tide Pods, right?
Yep.
And it's like how many times Tide Pod's been around for a minute, guys, for 20 years, 10 years at least, like because I've had them since at least 15 years actually. They've been around, and so every time I've seen one, I'm like, damn, they should make a candy that looks like this, like a gusher basically. But I never bit one because I know in there it's fucking soap. You know what I mean? And like I've had soap in my mouth because I've been bad as a kid. And so I know what it tastes like, so I don't need to bite it. But the thing is some of these kids, like, they don't know what it's like to catch an ass whooping or to, taste some soap or to even know what the word or no means. And so then they do stupid ass shit like this and then, expect sympathy. And then the people that get punished is like the Tide Company got punished. And it's like, what for?
It's the shallow end of the gene pool. It's the reason why, toasters have the line in it, don't take a bath with this.
I mean, you can't underestimate the number of fucking stupid people. I mean,
it's lowest common denominator. This is the problem. Is that your education system is focused on the lowest common denominator. So you're focused on making certain that the stupidest person, and I'm not saying that schools are bad. I'm just saying that in general, the public, there's a lot of stupid people. And stupid people do stupid things, and then they don't want to be accountable. And that's how this whole thing just spawns out of control.
Yep.
Watch this. Watch this 24 level to hold as support, guys. This is that level coming back that we wanted to see hold as support. This should see some initiated buying showing up and trying to take advantage of this opportunity here. But you know, those stops were taken, so that kind of takes a little bit of juice out of the sales to the upside right there. But yeah, I agree. It's the same. It's why I always say, you know, you can only lead a horse to water, right? It's just like teaching somebody how to fish, right? You teach somebody how to fish, and do they have the discipline to keep fishing all day until they catch a fish, or do they fish for, you know, an hour and then just quit? You know, it's you know, it seems like in this generation you could have a bunch of people that are dying of thirst, and if Trump was like, here, take this water, they would say, fuck no, that water is it's evil water, I'm not drinking it. And it's like, you know, is your thirst or something like that?
There's a phrase in programming that as soon as you create an idiot-proof program, the universe will create a better idiot.
Biden and Camilla wouldn't take the Trump vaccine when they were, you know, running for office. But then as soon as they were in office, well, then yeah, everybody's got to take the vaccine, the same exact vaccine, you know. But when Trump was in office, it was Trump vaccine, so it was all bad.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and that's exactly the thing. And then like back like when they're talking about the masks thing in Korea, people just wear masks when they don't feel good. Like if you don't feel good, you just wear a mask no matter what. Like that's just what you do. Like if you even if you got a little cough, you know, you got a fever or whatever, just put a mask on whenever you go anywhere out in public today. You go to school, you wear a mask, and it's not uncommon. But the thing is, in America, it was like, I'm not fucking wearing a mask because it's my goddamn right, blah blah blah. And it's like, you know, if they wouldn't have tried to force it on everyone and be like, hey, you know, other countries do this, it's just called being polite. It's not infringing upon your human rights. It's just be a decent fucking human being and put a mask on when you're not feeling well.
I don't feel
problem solved.
I'm one of those fucking idiots that actually did research on it, and I mean I got pissed off about it. And what kills me is that everybody's holding the fucking device that can tell them the answer to whatever, you know. But dude, I went through there's 31 studies done since the 80s on fucking masks, and I actually went through them because I don't know, I was bored one weekend, and every one of them had the exact same results, that these fucking masks literally don't do anything. And it's insane. In fact, the one that pissed off the worst was, well, some of them were pretty interesting. In fact, they did one a couple years ago where they did 3,000 surgeries. They did 1,500 where the doctors and nurses wore masks, and then they did 1,500 where they didn't wear masks, and they put petri dishes all around the room. And there was literally less bacteria in the no masks than, it was almost a tie, but still, because it'd be different if they had explained what an N95 mask, you know, how to wear one or how to do anything, you know, like everybody's a fucking doctor, but you know, nobody did any research. An N95 mask means that the mask stops 95% of microns that are 0.3 and smaller, or I'm sorry, 0.3 and greater. And so, but a virus is 0.003. So literally a virus is 100 times smaller than the hole in the fucking mask. So it makes no sense. And so, and but the one that, what really pissed me off was that about 6 months before COVID shit started, the CDC actually did a study on wearing cloth masks, like wearing bandanas, and literally the test showed that these are all peer reviewed, you know, double blind, whatever. But it showed that that wearing no mask at all was better than wearing a cloth mask, because when you wear a cloth mask, it all just like sticks. You swear like wearing a petri dish, like all sticks. It's all slobbery and shit, and everybody's, you know, and but yet they were telling us to wear that shit, even though they just did a fucking, you know, 2-year study showing that. And literally, in 2015, the Surgeon General put out a report telling all doctors not to wear masks if they can. And because what's happening is doctors in the military were getting cancer in their mouth because of the cotton that these masks are made of. There was some kind of cancer causing shit on the cotton, but they were also getting hypoxia, and they were like getting dizzy and shit when they were doing it. And this report, which actually they changed, they took it off, but you can still find it. It was called why we still have the ritual of wearing a mask, and they're call it a ritual now because it's for the same exact reason why they put cotton in aspirin. Um, because it used to be that the cotton would stop it from breaking up, but now they coat aspirin. So, but when they stopped putting cotton in the aspirin, people were freaking out that there was something wrong with the aspirin because there's no cotton there. So they still stick cotton in there. But the only reason they still wear masks is because when they found out that when the doctors and nurses weren't wearing masks, it made the heart rate of the patients way higher. So basically, the patients were freaking out that the doctors weren't wearing masks, and so that's why they wear masks now. But they literally an N95 mask is for like a dentist not to spit on you, and even that when they did that test, they only stopped 50% of the spit. So for the government to tell us to do something that they literally just did a test to show doesn't do shit is bullshit. I don't know. So I did have a problem with it, and then to have it forced on us, where people were like mass shaming people and kicking them out of fucking businesses and all kinds of shit. It was irritating as shit. I mean, I was literally going up and thanking people that weren't wearing masks, like Home Depots and shit. But I would go 2 or 3 times and I would see one other person not wearing a mask. It'd be just me only. How can I be the only person in the whole Home Depot that's not wearing a fucking mask? Like, I don't know. It was killing me, man. I don't know. And I'm in a smaller town outside the outskirts. It was never even mandated here, and people were still wearing the shit. I don't know. So I don't know. I don't know. It sucks. And now the shit is
There's some strong feelings.
easier to have the shit that's happening in China, right, which is fucking crazy. Are they the same planet as us? Have you seen this go down in Shanghai right now?
I mean,
Yes.
if they have a
They
bunch
were
of people with poor health and they don't keep them inside, China's population they've got a lot of old people. So, you know,
They follow the China. One of the studies they did back in like the 90s, they followed a Chinese family for a year. That would wear masks, and it was just disgusting. I mean, they were put them in their pockets, hanging them on fucking beer, like because they don't teach anybody how to Well, it used to be. I was being a nurse at the time, and she would tell me that before COVID, if you ever went from one patient to the next patient and didn't change your mask, that was like automatic firing, like you were done. And now they're fucking wearing masks for a week, same mask, fucking whatever. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. And then they make kids wear it. That's the worst, is making these kids fucking wear them in school and shit. I mean, come on. Not like any kid was getting COVID. No kids were fucking dying. Nothing, you know.
I mean, a lot of people weren't even wearing them the right way anyways. A lot of people wearing them like with their nose hanging out, and that's just not really doing anything. The way that I look at it is I saw this meme that's like it's like if someone's wearing jeans and they're sick, right? The mask isn't for you, it's for everyone else when you're not feeling well. So if you're wearing jeans and you piss your pants and you're sitting on my lap, we're both probably going to get wet. But if you're wearing jeans and you piss your pants and I don't get near you, well, I'm probably not going to get wet. So I'm not really worried about it. But if you're not wearing jeans and you start pissing all over and I'm close enough, I might get wet, and I don't want to get wet.
Right, but if the government had told us to wear, like a respirator, like what you're supposed to wear, that'd be a different thing. Then you could say, okay, you're helping. When you wear something it's like when they were showing that football game. I think it was where everybody could just see their breath through the mask. It's like, all right, well, if, particulates can get through there. It's certainly a virus can. I mean, so, I don't know. I do have a problem with them forcing the shit on us. That was my biggest issue. You know.
Yeah, but they force a lot of other shit on you that should be an issue too. Like you've got to figure out where to draw the line, and I just think too many people picked the mask issue as an issue. Like there's so many other issues that would be better line drawn than that.
I could write a book on issues. Yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of issues. I mean, I got kicked off Twitter went after our governor. Our governor.
Market's pumping here. GMT's still
Uh-oh.
ripping too. We're getting into these
Oh,
single prints. We could start to see a nice little short covering rally here. I
let
want
me
to
get these
give it
alerts to.
a little pop up there. We're looking for that chunk of volume to come in and then build upon it. Yep, still getting it. And I think honestly, like I said yesterday, the target is going to be up in this 50 area.
Okay. Even Bybit has a lot of coins on there now.
Yeah, 42.45 is 2% above the settle from yesterday. That's what I wrote down. And remember, 42.45 was a big level. Yes, a big level from Monday. Where's 42.45? Remember this level from Monday where it kept kind of getting smacked down a little bit from? So that seems like a level. 42.50 has a lot of volume on it from yesterday, but 42.45 would seem like a spot that it might run to. Volume's kind of dying out up here, though. It looks like we're not getting that chunk that we wanted to see. Only, I mean, we haven't spent a lot of time up here yet, though, so it's still, still opportunity. Not seeing a lot of response from sellers, though. Like, you're just kind of seeing absorption from sellers is what it looks like. They're just kind of like, all right, we'll take this. You wanna buy it up here? We'll take it. Yo, Wang, are you still in that LMT trade or the GMT trade? How to links? Yeah, it's back into range here on the ES. And below 24, I'm gonna be cutting right to 24 here. I'd like to see it hold that 24. Looks like sellers are trying to re-offer this 30 level here. This mechanical reference from yesterday. Some friend told me to close at 3.5. You should have made pretty decent. I mean, you said you were in 15 grand. VIX is back below 30 right now. Coming back down below its pre-market lows. I think my leverage equity. What I would recommend is well, I mean, it just depends on a lot of things. The first thing I would recommend is definitely keep tuning in for these streams, um, and just keep learning as much as you can, and then two, I would think about or get did you it depends if you journaled, so we could go back and look at all of your old trades. And then I mean it really just depends on how leveraged you were trading. Like if you were over leveraged, that's a big common mistake with newer traders. They over leverage because they're focused on making gains than focused on the process. And you really have to focus on the process to compound gains. That's how large gains happen, is over um, compounding times. The issue is there's so many crypto millionaires that probably aren't millionaires anymore. There was like overnight millionaires, and then they lost all their money as well. Um, but so people are so addicted to instant success, and it's kind of a scary thing. But if you just stay, if you just stay around, I think it'll be fine. I mean, $15 isn't really enough to kind of get anything going. I mean, you could trade really, really small on leverage, but I mean, $15 is just not enough room sometimes. Um, I would just save up till you get $100, and then start looking at trading the ES or the MES, I mean, and go from there. That's what I would do. Keep studying here, read a lot of the books that I've posted. Join the Discord, ask questions, anything. Should you get back in? I don't know if I'd get back in at the highs. No. I mean, it could keep going up. I don't know if this thing is news related. I don't know much about GMT, to be honest with you. Be back down there on that 24. Watch this level here. If it breaks with some tempo, it could easily run down to 15. So be tight here. Yeah, and then just like TJ's saying, he said definitely get consistent winning on the sim before you risk your hard-earned $100. It's I think the sim is an underutilized tool and underappreciated tool because people, they want it now. I want it. Right? But if patience gets you paid, and that's one thing. Bearish Bull, one of our members, said that one time, and this is something that really is just a fact. And you've got to think about all the patience it takes to get to those levels. And this is kind of a good lead into something that I wanted to talk to about today. I wanted to talk about the power of minimum 20K. Oh yeah, you're that's a lot of leverage, especially with only $1,800. How much did you have? $1,800. Yeah, that's a lot. A lot of leverage. I mean, I did gamble an account from $1,000 to 40K in like a month, but that was just gambling. I don't consider that good trading. I was just over leveraging the shit out of high quality trades, and Bitcoin just happened to be ripping up like the whole time. And then it ripped down. I mean, it was just pure luck. That's what I chalk it up to. But so what I wanted to talk about is how you can get bigger results with the same amount of effort, right? And so when we think about this, coming back to our trading and how we are running a business, right? I want you to think about it. You're running a business, but you're your own employee. And so this helps you grade yourself, and it's an important thing to do. And that's why, in the Discord, if you have trouble grading yourself, we use each other as accountability partners to grade each other, right? You find someone that you guys can chat with, maybe that you feel comfortable with, or just get to know somebody, and then exchange ideas and give constructive criticism, right? You don't want to be in there and be like, oh, you're a fucking idiot, that doesn't work. That's not very constructive, right? We're trying to help improve everybody. And so advice like that is not very appreciated or beneficial. But when you're thinking about this as you're your own boss, you hold yourself to these standards, and some of you are getting to that point where you're ready for that next step. You're ready to be like, okay, I'm consistent here. I'm making, X amount of dollars on trading the MES. Like, when can I hit that ES and start making, thousands a day? Right. Well, it's not that easy, because there's the big gap from switching from the MES to the ES is the psychology piece. So you've got to put in a lot of work and be patient, and that will come. The good thing about this profession, in my opinion, is with this business, it's not going to require any more anything else, like no cost, no travel, no extra employees, no dealing with work issues. It's just you. And so when you run a business, right, like, we own a couple of Roundtable pizzas, and in order to make more profits, right, we've either got to be at the store more and sell more pizzas, but in order to make more money, we also have to order more dough. We've got to order more, everything, basically, because Roundtable is fresh every day. This is not brought to you by Roundtable, but when you're trading, the only difference is just adding a contract. So when you're talking about learning on the MES, where each point is only $5, and then you trade on the ES and each point is $50, it requires no extra effort, no extra supplies, no extra overhead. It just requires, not even extra effort. It's the same effort because it's the same trade. It's just the leverage is different. And the way to get to that point where you feel more comfortable with taking trades on the ES is to be more consistent and to build up a bigger account, right? Because if you have, let's say you have $1,000 account and you lose a point on the ES, that's a $50 loss. It's a lot, right? It's a, it feels, especially if you lose 100, you start your account's $900 now, right? But if you lose 1 point on the ES, you're at $995. Not much, not much damage done there. And so it's just one of those jobs that if you are patient and work hard and build up an account, and it's going to take time. It's just how things work. They just take time. You can get to that point where you can get on, and instead of, maybe you're on the MES and you're trying to make $100 a day. Well, that's 10 points. Well, you get on the ES and you're just trying to make $100 a day, and that's only 2 points on the ES, and you can just wait for your good trade to come to you, take your trade, hit your 2 points, and then you're good. But you've got to be comfortable with the opposite side of that as well, right? Yeah, you're trading the MES, you're trying to make 200 points a day, but you're only risking, the smaller amount when you're trading the MES. When you are on the ES, the risk is also greater too. And so, that's why I think the biggest gap in between those, because they're literally the exact same thing, is nothing other than yourself, your psychology, that's getting in the way, preventing you from making that leap. So if you are one of those people out there that's looking for that compounding goal where you're getting up to these levels and you're feeling like you're hitting a wall or maybe plateauing with what you've been doing, then you've got to reflect inward. A lot of people are so quick to blame outward, like, oh, the fucking market makers trap me, or blah blah blah. Like, I mean, we've all heard a million excuses, but in reality, it's got to be looked inwards, right? What am I doing wrong to not be able to do the same thing, right? Because in reality, it's the same thing. And most of you guys know, for me, one thing that I did that helped me is I have my daily well, I don't really look at my P&L during the day, but I look at my P&L intra-trade, and intra-trade, I have it on points. Oh, Points. You guys know I'm really good at spelling. So, but I have it on points because, 1 point is 1 point. And that's that's the thing, is I'm looking at it as in points, taking high quality shots, making my baskets. So the difference from ES to MES in reality is just my account size. That's it. If you are trading the MES extremely well and you try to go to the ES and you just fucking blow it, it's the psychology of it. It's the numbers might be getting to you in a way. And I'm not saying just switch it to points so you just don't pay attention to it, but you know, it's a personal issue, and you've got to figure out everything is going to work for people differently. So me switching it to points, that's what really helped me. But if it doesn't help you, then you've got to figure out something else. And the way that I've come to a lot of these conclusions is by reading a lot of these books that talk about, you know, how the mind operates, or psychology, basic human psychology. And you know, you don't really get an opportunity to reflect inward because we're not really taught to do that. You know, like COVID, people were going crazy because they were by themselves all the time. You know, but not me. I loved it. I loved. Ooh, Facebook's crossing the low. This is a lot of red coming in.
I got nasty.
Yeah, careful here. They didn't
Finally,
break
my
that
short
low
is
though.
paying off.
Nice. Whoa, shit. Earnings leaked on Facebook. They've been hanging out up here all day because I had an alert on the bottom. This could get ugly. One tick below here.
Man, I flattened at the 28 right before that happened.
Nice. But yeah, so you know, yeah, there it goes. Yeah, you're seeing a lot of red come in the market here. Facebook is going to be the driver here. You watch, I mean, tech all over is getting smacked. Selling Apple, AMD, even Bitcoin's coming down. Oil's popping up. But just be careful here for the pop, lock, and drop, right? Remember that, you know, we've got our levels to pay attention to. As much of a nice short trade that would have been, no, I didn't take any of it. And see, the market's just, you know, I mean, you're just popping up. There's 7 points right there, down and back up. So, I mean, 10 points, really, 18 points, or 12 points, I mean. You know, you're just all over. It's better to just, news comes out, let the market chill. Remember, the market was right here when the news came out, right? Right at the 20 level. It came right to that G low, and then all of a sudden, boom, the market started to run down. So let's pay attention and see. You know, there might be some opportunity below this half back. If we get below this thin ass volume, and on the other side of this ledge, right, this volume ledge, there could be some opportunity to fade back down to the low of value. That H high looks mechanical to me, and so does this H low. According to the SEC filing, Musk has registered 3 companies in Delaware as part of his efforts to take Twitter private. So far, Musk claims he's obtained roughly $46.5 billion to help finance any potential deal. And there's a lot of speculation on what Musk is doing. He's might be using Twitter to write off losses for Tesla or debt that he owes on Tesla, and then you know, just drive Twitter into the ground and just, you know, like he's take a loss on it, but also that's why he wants to take it private so he doesn't fuck it a bunch of people over. This is why we want to be patient here, right? Because this thing came down to the 20. We just want to be patient.
How much do you think NASA paid him to take those astronauts up there?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
people don't do stuff for free. That's a thing. Is like that's just not how the world works. You know, there was a thing they asked Ben Shapiro how much it cost to get him to come talk at something, and it's like, you know, probably he alluded to it being at least $100,000.
Ben Shapiro.
You know, so you think like a lot of these people would be out here giving their opinions for free, or just sadly. Don't worry, I'll be president here in like, you know, a little while, and then I'll just fix all the problems.
Brad, back to what you were saying before the market went crazy. You can lose 10 trades on the MES, and it equals, you know, 1 loss on the ES. So you have a lot more learning opportunities, you know, when you don't have a lot of capital.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is everyone's in such a rush to make that $50, right? Let's just say make that $50, which is 1 point on the ES, but 10 points on the MES. But the thing is that if you're able to consistently hit that mark where you're hitting, you know, $50, which is 10 points on the MES, time after time after time, you know, a month goes by, 2 months goes by, then try the ES. I mean, I recommend just adding extra contracts, but until you get to around like 4, 5, 6, and then it becomes like, depends on what your commission would be. That so a lot of times I think the MES fees they start to add up, I think, if you're trading a lot of contracts. But you know, the ES, it's like $2.50. You don't even notice it, to be honest. And you know, if you can be consistently hitting these, then it's the same thing. It's the same shot. You know, it's the same thing that you're doing in practice. And that's the cool thing about this, is that there's no difference. You're not changing your ball. You're not shooting on a taller hoop. You're not playing in a different league. You're playing in the same league, playing the same sport, shooting the same ball. It's just a matter of you yourself, when the spotlights are on, being able to withstand that pressure. You know what I mean? It's the same thing like when you think about it for professional athletes. You know, some athletes do amazing, right? In you know, games that don't matter. And then when the pressure's on, they just play like shit. You know, it happens all the time. And I mean, and the thing is, this is one of those things where if you just quit as soon as you get knocked down the first time, you know, you're never going to be successful. And that's just, you know, that's just life advice, really. Like last night the neighbor kid, he's got a decent outside shot, right? But his defense is shit. And I mean, he's 10 years old, but his defense is shit. Even his shot is garbage. He just fucking shoots that thing off the backboard most of the time. And him and my daughter playing 1-on-1, I said, take his ass down low and fucking do layups on him all day. And, you know, she beat him 21-3. And it's like, imagine that. It was the first time beating him. And it's like, you know, well, what can you expect? You've got to, you can't just, you know, you can't just keep trying the same shit over and over and expect it to happen. You've got to do some looking inward and figure out what you're doing wrong. And she was just saying, his defense is really good. And I was like, his defense to me looks like shit. It's just you're trying to shoot all these hard outside contested shots instead of just taking his ass down low and putting a layup on him. I was like, you're quicker than him. You've got to use your strengths to your advantage. So Facebook's earnings were reported from Bloomberg Terminal as an error. So that just goes to tell you that, you know, a lot of people already know the earnings plays before they even start. So what a shamble. But I mean, I really hope that resonates with people. The power of compounding you know, is not just monetary, right? It's to be successful, you need to have a holistic interpretation of the market, and you've got to understand, you know, price, but you have to understand yourself as well. One thing I was actually talking to my wife about yesterday is when I was younger, my little sister had a terrible time maintaining a job. She would always get a job and then just fucking find a reason to not like it and then quit, right? But instead of doing some inward looking and thinking, okay, what am I doing wrong, or what's the reason that I don't like this, and can it be improved, or you know, is this really just not for me, right? And so instead of blaming it on, that's what a lot of people do, they blame it on the market. They didn't do good in training because Elon fucked them over or the market fucked them over. It's like, but everything but self-improvement, right? It's like Ricky Gervais tells this joke, and you know, I'm sorry if this hurts your feelings, it's just a joke. But he says, he tells a joke and he says, he's like, you know, big girls always do everything that they can do to look pretty. He's like, they always have the nicest nails, they always have the nicest clothes. He goes, anything but jogging, right? And so it's like, and that's what happens on the internet. Everyone is just searching YouTube for that holy grail, that thing that just, that magic diet pill that gives them, that makes them skinny or makes them strong, or you know, just makes them smart, instead of actually just fucking rolling their sleeves up and putting in the work and then just doing it, right? There's just so much power there, and it's just, all you have to figure out is that if you just look inward just a little bit, you could you know, probably solve that issue. And then once you get past that step, you know, then it just becomes making good quality trades. The emotions aren't blocking you from seeing the things that you want to see, or seeing the things that are there. And sometimes you'll block out things that you don't want to see, right? Let's say you're in a long trade and the market starts going down, you're like, no, oh, these buyers are weak, oh, this blah blah blah, you know, like whatever it is. And it can be distracting because people try to block out these emotions instead of understand them, right? And utilize them to their advantage, which is what, you know, the greatest athletes do. Think about, you hear stories of mothers lifting cars off of their babies because, you know, of adrenaline, and adrenaline gives you that, you know, that power. Well, imagine if you were able to harness that and use it, you know, not just when your kid's trapped underneath of a car. You know, that's the kind of power your brain has. That's just more my belief. But I mean, there's studies done where, you know, people have cancer and they don't have surgery, and they literally just kind of will themselves to not have cancer, and then they just don't have it anymore because that's just your brain, you know, just does shit like that. It's a crazy place. It really is. All right, so we're back under this big volume chunk now, and we're coming, you know, kind of to a tipping point here, where once we get back below these single prints, it's going to start to get ugly, and you're going to see a lot of capitulation. We came, you know, right to that level where we expected responsive selling, and we got it pretty decently, and now we're getting some slipped guidance down, you know, that wasn't supposed to show for Facebook or Meta. And you know, they could be, you know, they came down a bit, but they're doing okay, but something slipped and their guidance is down. I don't know, it's just shady, something shady about that. Where's Martin? You need to get your Series 7's friends to give us some advice.
Yeah, talking about the power of your brain, in a book time, there's a story about a person who at his job, they have those huge, like big industrial walk-in freezers, like where they hang meat and stuff. And it was a refrigerator, and basically he was closing up that night and got locked in the refrigerator, and he knew that no one would be there, until like the next morning. So he'd have to like stay all night in the fridge. Y'all can probably hear the kids playing on the other side.
Oh, that's good.
But it was crazy. Like, he believed that he was freezing to death, right? The power of your brain. And he like carved out his like final message to his family, like on the door. And he like really believed he was freezing. And the next day they found him dead in the refrigerator. And every sign on his body showed that he froze to death, but the refrigerator never got even low enough for him to actually freeze to death. So it was like pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's nuts. And there's tons of cases like that. There's tons of things like that. It's just, and to me, I love stuff like that, because you'll have to send me that. I'd like to check that article out more. It's not, that's just crazy, it's just crazy.
In fact, you can't even get a drug, past the FDA without a placebo study with it. That's how powerful placebos are.
That's the same thing as manifesting. That's why you say, if you say it to yourself enough, you believe it, it'll happen.
Yeah,
well,
right.
That's what they say.
Yeah, that's
So
why people pass those lie detectors.
Yeah, so he kept saying to himself over and over, I'm going to freeze to death. I'm going to freeze to death. And his body was what did it. Or his mind, I guess I should say, is what did it.
Crazy. We're coming back down to that 10-5 level. Remember that 5 level is kind of where all this gas started at. If we get below that 5 level again, starts to get pretty, pretty slippy under there with the 4100 or 4200 and what do we say, 97 quarter 95. But for right now, so far we're still trending up. I mean, we've had a cessation of one time framing, but today's value is, overlapping, I'd say almost a little bit overlapping to lower, but we are kind of getting a little bit of upward movement. That Facebook news might just kind of clap everything. Exactly. Suffering is the learning experience required to understand the process. Pain is not necessarily bad. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, that's what the same thing is. Yeah, if you just you can just convince yourself that something is the way that it is, then that's the way it is. And that's why it's sometimes dangerous when people get, too much power, they can start to, take control. And then you see, like, look what happened in World War II. That was just the power of persuasion, basically. Or look at Charles Manson, right? I don't even think Charles Manson killed anybody himself. He just convinced a bunch of people to kill people for him. Like, that's power. It's psychotic. I don't disagree with that, but it's kind of crazy if you really dig into it.
It's interesting how the F, G, and H all kind of came up to that 4230 level like it did yesterday. Maybe G of today kind of popped those stops and it came back down.
Yeah, it looked like we got up there, and then those inside these single prints, those responsive sellers are still there. Yeah, today's definitely a tougher day. And I think I put on the on the trade view, like, today's a day where extreme caution needs to be used, because we've seen why, right? The market's been all over the place in a fairly wide range, right? even individually, what's the average range on these bars here? About 29, about 30 points per period per TPO. So that's a pretty decent range there. Not quite at a 100-point day like we have been the past 4 days. Yeah, and then also like, so let's say if you are using the profile tell for 15, I think it was down 41.44 yesterday. So technically today is still an inside day, kind of, on like a daily chart. That's what it looks like on my daily chart. Even though I have my settlement on settlement, brings it down a little. Where they're snagging this settlement. A lot of times what I like to do here, guys, also is when we're here, especially when we know big tech is kind of just running on a rampage, what I'll do is I'll switch over to TradingView real quick and I'll just add an alert on all of my big names at the lows of the next level that I'm looking across. You can see we haven't crossed my next Apple level yet. Came pretty close. But just to give me some, you know, a little pre-warning that the market is pulling back, or the same thing, if I'm trading short, I'll put a bunch of markers above just to let me know if I'm short and all of a sudden all of these tech stocks start to break the upside. I want to be careful, right? Amazon's not looking. Google's green today so far, or looking at like a green bar or white bar, but gap down. Yeah, Martin, that can definitely change your perspective. I mean, there's a lot of things, like, I mean, honestly, I think just travel changes your perspective. We've got, so many people in the United States that have really not even left their state, let alone left the United States, and I think it would really benefit them.
I went out to go in high school from Iran, And it's crazy the difference between what media shows how Iran is and how it really is. You know,
Yeah.
they love Western. You know, they love America. They don't. You know, they have as much to do with what the government's doing as we do with Trump and Biden, and you know, but we don't see it that way. You know, we demonize the whole 108, all 80 million Iranians like they're all terrorists. They're all you know. Same with Cuba. Same with Venezuela. You know. But Brett, why were you saying you put a warning? I mean, an alert at the low side for what reason?
So the reason I do that is because if I start to see, we know that the FANG stocks are a big weight of the S&P, and so if the FANG stocks start to sag, like if I'm long here and the Facebook, the not the Facebooks, the FANG stocks start to break their lows, I don't want to be getting long with that, right? That's not ideal. If you've got the bigger weighted stocks going lower, it would be like, if you're trading any crypto, you're going to pay attention to Bitcoin while you're trading it, right? You're going to at least look at Bitcoin. And if you're not, you're kind of doing yourself a disservice, because if Bitcoin starts to crash, there's good odds that the rest of crypto is going to come down with it. So it's just something to pay attention to. It's not always going to do it. Just like oil being above $100 not always going to crash the stock market, but it's just good to pay attention to.
I know I'm kind of a conspiracy guy, but you know, I don't understand why so many times both the ask and the buy both way lower than or above whatever the trade's at, and it just sits there forever. You know, instead of you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
For the ask and the bid to both be way off, but the trade price just sits there for a good 30 seconds or whatever. Meanwhile, the price
Because
starts
it's
changing.
waiting for someone to be aggressive, right? It's waiting for someone to make the first move. So it's like if you have price here, right, and the nearest offer is here, the nearest bid is here, and price is just kind of hanging out. Well, it's waiting for someone to move up, to move the market, right? That's what it's waiting for. And sometimes by buyers moving up, it causes sellers to move down. And if more sellers are willing to be more active, then price can go up. Sometimes it causes sellers to run away and causes more buyers to come in because price starts getting some momentum, and then they start chasing price up, and then you get some of these bigger rallies. It's just really just how the auction works. It's the think about it as, an auctioneer, when they're like going once, going twice, except for they can't do that. So they're at the auction and they're like, do I hear 100, 100, 100, 100? And they just have to keep saying 100, 100, 100, 100, 100 forever, until someone decides to say 100, right? Or until the market maker decides to move price lower and take somebody's 90 bid, or take someone's 110 offer or something like that.
Oh man.
You talk about
What's that?
a U-turn. It broke that 208 and run those stocks and then reversed.
We're buying right there. Yeah, I like Mark Douglas a lot. Yeah, or read the book. Yeah. And there's a lot of other books out there that you know we tend to shy away from when we're in this field of trade, right? When we're looking to make this a profession or make this a full-time income, that you know, because they're not related to trading. Um, like Atomic Habits, right? My dad loves that book. I like the book as well, but you know, the reason that he enjoyed it so much is because there's instant application with that book, right? If you listen to the book and follow it, you can instantly start to see, you know, small improvements. And that's kind of what, you know, that goes back to the whole thing is everyone wants everything right now. You know, it's like I want to go in the backyard and work out today and have a six pack tomorrow. That'd be ideal. And I want to eat pizza for dinner. You know, but it's like, which one do you want more? Right. And in my case, I don't need a six pack. I mean, this shit is for, you know, it's just not for me. I've had one before, took a lot of work, and I'll just probably never have one again. Don't need one.
Is it married now?
No, I mean, I'm in good shape. And my abs are built like out, like, um, so like when I breathe in, you could see my abs, but when I breathe out, my stomach is just like, you know, it's just like a big ball of muscle. It doesn't like stick out like a beer belly or anything, but it's like, you know, solid. It's where my power comes from, I say. And I think it's genetic. And it could be, you know, maybe my organs are too big for my body. Just like my arms, you know, from fingertip to fingertip, 74 inches. I'm only 67 inches tall, so something happened there, according to science.
That's some caveman shit right there.
Yeah, exactly. Unevolved.
Back over that 24.
Yep. See if we can get above it. Quick run away from it right there.
Come on, Loon. I know you want to fall. Come
I'm into I mean, it's really starting to look just like a 3-day balance here, or like a, you know, the market's trying to find a little bit of balance and balancing a little bit lower.
on. Uh, a mouse?
All right, guys. Well, we've got a mechanical eye low and a mechanical eye high. I'm sure as soon as we close the stream, we'll start to get some movement, kind of like we did yesterday. I think I'm gonna call it here. I got to get a workout in, and I had a couple of other errands I need to run today. Hopefully everybody enjoyed. Hopefully everybody learned something. We had a bigger crowd than normal today in the YouTube. So, welcome to anyone that's new. If you are new, don't be afraid to speak up and ask some questions. Yeah, everyone's pretty friendly. Don't get scared off by Kevin and all of his conspiracies.
Yeah.
Just be aware. But yeah, you guys have a wonderful day. I'd love to see some performances in the chat or in the Discord. Let us know, if things that you struggled with and things you'd like to see, in future streams to help you improve. Let us know some things that you see that you did well, so we can all share, both sides of experience. We don't need to just share wins. You've got to share the losses too. That's what helps you improve. But other than that, make sure you guys are managing risk and sticking to your trade plan. If you don't have a trade plan, don't trade, get a trade plan. And yeah, I will catch you guys later.